Echoes of Old Mexico. Great album. Love the architectural elements throughout the entire book. Um, the captures very, very clean. Love the composition throughout the entire book. Um, and use of color very consistent throughout the book. And so overall, just a very, very clean architectural book here. A couple things from a design standpoint and a couple things from um, individual image standpoint that I just want to kind of point out to help the score go up, because score this an 80, but definitely could go much higher with some edits and simplicity being added to the book. First of all, I never recommend page numbers or titles or anything on the book itself. Let the judges hear the title and move into it in their own mind. Don't you let fonts or colors or anything dictate what the judges need or don't need to think about the book. So the actual page numbers became distracting as we got through the book. Secondly, the white bar in the middle becomes very distracting quick. It creates a barrier, a border that keeps me in one image or the other. And so, just from a design standpoint, I would highly recommend let's pull that bar out, let's pull the page numbers out, and keep the design overall as simple as possible. Secondly, another little trick when you are entering an album is I highly recommend blanketing your spreads and your opening page on a gray canvas that matches the gray that's going to be judged on. And so there is a now I am in Photoshop right now, but there's a standard gray that you can blanket this on. And so all I would recommend, I'm just going to do a kind of a cheat version of this real quick. But if you want to keep all of your spreads looking consistent, I would blanket them on a canvas, and that way, for example, let me back through here, your opening spread, which is square, and then the rest in your middle spreads are all horizontal rectangles, versus your final spread is actually a rectangle with a white finish. Let's make them all consistent, and we're just going to show you here I don't want to do that math, so we'll just take that to percentage and say 200%, and we will shrink this down just a touch so we would do it all the exact same, but I'm just kind of moving quickly here for the critique. But then we just put the gray in there so that when you go from spread to spread, you notice that they're reading the book instead of it recentering, so that they're reading it the way it would as an album. So just a few design things that I would recommend when piecing together your book. Working our way through it, there's a couple little consistency issues. If you look at your windows, some windows are heavily worked, some windows aren't worked hardly at all. And so definitely make sure that if we have worked windows to show detail with blue sky, we don't need to have other windows with white sky. So it became a little bit distracting as we went through the book to find some rooms had been cleaned up and we had clean windows on some images, but then other images not. It's definitely more distracting when those windows are facing each other. For example, this spread, I see out this window, it's a little bit clean, doesn't have the blue sky like I've seen before, but yet the window on this side has no sky, nothing going on in it. Matter of fact, I've got a white reflection on the wall right here with a white window versus a bluish tone reflection here with a little bit of white and green through the window. Things to think about, make really, really consistent throughout the book. Overall, great image work, really clean with lines. Most of our lines are not diverging and converging, which is really important. You want to keep all your lines straight. But some of the spreads just have a few too many images. Not necessarily always needed. For example, the little inlay image here is it's the same sync. It's actually the same sync in all three. Easily can just go with what's the best image of these three, showcase just the best. Print competition is not always about how many images are in the book, it's just what's the most powerful. Sometimes playing to the minimum is most important. And then this one, definitely never end with a spread that A is blank and B is a totally different color. And so just a couple of things. Get rid of those page numbers. I personally would just put a kibosh to all that text and page number. But overall, really great book. Fix some of these little editing issues, maybe take out some images, clean up this design to take out some of these distractions, and the score will definitely go up. I scored this an 80.